Hello and welcome everyone on this official platform of Legacy IAS Academy. They came as a traders but ruled as emperors. A simple company formed in a room in London went on to conquer and ruled India for many years, nearly 200 years. And that has changed the fate of an entire subcontinent, and it has become the face for the British Empire's mind. But here is the shocking twist. That same company, once which was a symbol of colonization and British dominance, is now owned by an Indian. Yes, the company that looted India, that is East India Company, broke its backbone and crushed revolts with cannons as well as cruelty. Today they are selling luxury tea, chocolates under Indian leadership. So as you can see here, the headlines: East India Company, which ruled India for 200 years, is now owned by an Indian. Clear? So this is one of the important articles, as you can see here on your screen. So with respect to this, I would like to tell you that how this, you can say, the poetic irony became a reality. Who is this Indian? You know? So as you can see here, who is this Indian which now owns the East India Company? And how did this, a company that once had its own army and navy, turned into a seller of gift hampers? है ना? So buckle up, because in the next few minutes you will see the journey through colonial conquest, bloody revolts, as well as the global irony and a twist in history that is so wild that it feels scripted. This is not just history, this is revenge, this is redemption and rebirth. So, this is the story of East India Company, like you have never heard before. Now, first of all, let me tell you what was the East India Company. So, what was that East India Company? So, everyone knows, you know, in modern India, this is the very important topic, that this East India Company was started in England on December 31st in 1600 AD. It was a trading company, but it was given a special powers by the British Crown. And what was those power? To expand British control, especially in India as well as East Asia. So East India Company got these powers from the British Crown. Now the question here is, how did India, है ना, how did East India Company take over India? How इन्होंने कैसे इंडिया को कंट्रोल किया? So let me tell you, when they came in 1600, so at first it only traded with Indian rulers. It was just a trading company. Later they became territory. But slowly, East India Company used its growing military as well as political power to take control of land. And a major turning point was the Battle of Plassey, as you can see here. The major turning point was Battle of Plassey. Now, this Battle of Plassey was the turning point on 23rd June 1757. It was between East India Company and on between the Nawab of Bengal, that was Siraj-ud-Daulah. And finally, company won this battle and took the control of Bengal. So basically, this Battle of Plassey laid the foundation for British rule over all of India. है ना? So finally, British East India Company, they started ruling from 1757 to 1857, around 100 years of rule. है ना? Now 1857 was the turning point. 1857 was the turning point. है ना? It was the turning point. Now, what happened in 1857? So let me tell you, a long revolt. The company ruled India for a long time, but its oppressive policies, its exploitative policies, made Indian rulers as well as peasants angry. This led to the revolt of 1857, which is also known as the First War of Indian Independence. Now, after this, what happened? After this, British government, they took away the company's power. British Crown took away the company's power. Now, when did the rule of this company end? So, the rule of East India Company was abolished in India in 1858. But in overall, if we see when the company rule was ended, so let me tell you that in 1858, in 1858, so what happened after the revolt? After the revolt of 1857, British Crown took the direct control of India, and then the East India Company officially ended in 1874. As you can see here, East India Company officially ended in 1874 when its special charter was cancelled. So now we need to understand the background. What was that special charter? है ना? So let's try to understand the special charter first of all. Now, so what was the background for special charter? है ना? So to understand the background for special charter, first we need to understand the establishment of East India Company. Now, just try to understand that East India Company, now East India Company was established on 31st December 1600. Clear? And British Crown granted it a royal charter on this day. British Crown gave a royal charter. Clear? Now, what was that royal charter? This charter gave the company some rights. Now, what were those rights? This royal charter gave company some rights. Now, what were those rights? First important right was the exclusive trading rights with East. Exclusive trading rights with East. This is very important. East in the sense like India, China, Southeast Asia, etc. Then this royal charter also gave them rights, power to sign treaties also. Power to sign treaties. Yes. है ना? This royal charter gave them power to sign the treaties, wage wars, mint coins, and even govern the territories. These rights were given to East India Company under this royal charter. Now, what happened because of this charter? Over the time, the company became more than just a business. Clear? It ruled large parts of India like a private government with its own army, revenue system, as well as laws. And then the fall of company. How the fall of company was started? Now we need to understand the fall of company. Fall of company. Now, how fall of company was started? So let me tell you that in mid 1800s, the company rule became deeply unpopular in India. Why? Because of its exploitative policies. So there are some reasons. है ना? Exploitative policies of East India Company. It made unpopular East India Company. This was there. And then this anger culminated into the revolt of 1857, the most important revolt. That is revolt of 1857. Very important revolt. which is also known as First War of Independence, and the British Crown actually, they saw the company as unfit to rule anymore or govern anymore. So what happened after 1857? So what happened after 1857? British Parliament passed an act in 1858. In 1858, British Parliament passed an act called as Government of India Act 1858, and Queen Proclamation came. And this act abolished the rule of East India Company over India and transferred control of India directly to the British Crown. This act also appointed the Secretary of State for India to manage the administration of India from London, and company lost its governing power, but it still existed legally as a business entity. Clear? So when company officially ended, official end in 1874. Official end in 1874. As you can see here, so as you can see here, official end of company in 1874, which is also mentioned in the newspaper. So now, as you can see here, the company was officially ended in 1874. So what happened here is, for 16 years, that is after 1858, the East India Company technically remained a legal company, wrapping up its affairs. And finally, in 1874, British Parliament, they passed East India Stock Dividend Redemption Act. British, तो कौन सा एक्ट लाया गया? ईस्ट British Parliament passed East India Stock Dividend Redemption Act. Redemption Act. This act is very important. You are not going to get this act in any of the books or any of the videos on YouTube. This is mentioned in one of the newspapers. Now, what was this law? This law says that this law cancelled the company's charter, which was given in the year 1600. It liquidated its remaining assets. And this act officially in 1874 dissolved East India Company. Thus, in 1874, the once all powerful East India Company ceased to exist forever. So, in short, we can say that in after revolt of 1857, that is in 1858, East India Company lost all the power after this revolt, and finally in 1874, British government cancelled its charter and dissolved it completely. Okay. Now, today, whether East India Company exists? Yes, it exists. But who owns this East India Company now? अब ये किसके कंट्रोल में है? So let me tell you, as you can see this image, that surprisingly today the East India Company is owned by an Indian, and his name is Sanjeev Mehta, an Indian born British businessman. He is now the CEO of East India Company. Now, what does the company do today? What businesses they do? The East India Company no longer rules countries. Now it is in the luxury goods business. They sell tea, coffee, chocolate, beverages, gift hampers, as well as luxury homeware. And the fun fact here is, a company that once ruled India for nearly 200 years is now owned by an Indian. Okay, so this is about the East India Company and its policies and what is going on in East India Company today. So let me tell you, history does not always repeat itself. Sometimes it rewrites itself in ways more poetic than the fiction. So the East India Company once marched armies across the Indian soil, ruling over the millions, draining its wealth, and now countries later, now we can say now today, you know, the country who used to rule India earlier, now today, centuries later, the very name stands under the ownership of same people it once ruled. Today, Indian is owned this East India Company, that is Sanjeev Mehta. An Indian born visionary does not just buy a company, he bought a symbol of colonial arrogance turned into a brand of Indian pride. So, what once symbolized oppression now symbolizes the opportunity. What once sold guns and power now sells tea and dignity. So, in this single story, single video, lies a journey of a nation from being ruled to rising again, from chains of exploitation to cups of empowerment. So, the next time you sip tea, remember history has its own flavor, and sometimes it tastes just like poetic justice. So, if this story gave you chills, insights, or pride, then hit like, share, and subscribe the bell icon of Legacy IAS Academy and comment below. And hit that bell icon for more untold stories that bring history to life. Because on this channel, we don't just tell history, we decode its soul. Thank you so much.